So thank you, ma'am, for introduction. And thank you, Seema, for sharing my screen. So let's begin. I will be summarizing Squawks and Gluino searches at LHC. Second slide. Yeah, so let's begin with brief introduction. As we all know, supersymmetry is one of the promising beyond standard model theories, that it offers a partner to every standard model particle, which is differing by spin half. And the importance of this theory that it can provide the possible resolution to unsolved questions like Higgs mass stability or even dark matter. Natural SUSY expects gluinos and squarks to be light, and this motivated Atlas and CMS to carry out extensive SUSY searches in various final state using full run-to data. Now, the SUSY searches, they are generally categorized into two scenarios, one being RPC or R parity conserving, and other being R parity violating. So I'm putting here the definition of R parity here. 1 minute, one statement.
Whatever you said, you started talking about R parity.
Yeah. So I said that this is a multiplicative quantum number, and that is proposed to prohibit proton decay in MSSM, where baryon and lepton number conservation is not valid separately, and hence we need this new symmetry so that we can understand why proton is stable. In RPC scenario, SUSY particles will be produced in pairs, and lightest supersymmetric particle, which we generally call as LSP, it will be stable and weakly interacting, and hence it becomes a natural candidate for dark matter. Okay? So this last sentence is just direct consequence of what is the definition of R parity I have mentioned. Okay, so slide 3. Okay, so the discussion which we will be having now, that will be using simplified model spectra, which we generally call as SMS. So let's overview the properties of these SMS models. So here you can see two sketches, representative sketches. Here, what do I mean by simplified? That means the first is only few new particles are considered, and all other which do not come under the particular diagram, they are supposed to have mass infinity. Also, one or only few decay modes will be considered with fixed branching fraction. So if there is just one diagram and just one decay mode, it corresponds to 100% branching fraction. While if there are two, for example, then the assigned branching fraction is 50-50%. So now the objective is this SMS is to characterize the SUSY signal in such simplistic scenario. Now, theoretically, we can combine these various SMS models and can build more complex models to represent the realistic scenario. But practically, it will require the significant computing resources to actually do this process. Okay. So right now, we will be just focusing on these SMS models. Next slide. Okay, now as I have already mentioned, there are two main categories, RPC and RPA. Now again, mostly we divide them under either all hadronic final state or leptonic final state. So let's see what are the benefits and what are the drawbacks of these two final states. As we all know, hadronic final state that possesses larger branching fraction, but simultaneously it will be suffering from the significant standard model background. So there will be always fight between getting the good signal sensitivity and at the same time suppression of the standard model background. And due to this requirement itself, we require high thresholds on hadronic activity variables like NJET, HT, MHT, etc. Another being leptonic final state. It is relatively cleaner signature and offers larger MET. Here we exploit variables like MT, MT2, MET significance, which provides good discrimination power of signal over standard model background. So here as a representation, I am putting some sketches. On the left hand side, the first plot corresponds to empty. And you see that for single leptonic W decay, we expect a sharp fall at the mass of W boson, whereas signal is populating and showing the tails. MT2, which is equivalent to MT, but is used when there are two or more than two contributions for the mate. That time, again, you can see that there is endpoint in the MT2 distribution, which we expect to be corresponding to the parent mass distribution. So this acts as a discriminator. On the right hand side, I am showing the mate significance distributions. So for the processes where we don't expect genuine mate, it is expected to follow the linear distribution in the mate significance. Whereas if there are processes having the real mate, then they will deviate from this linear follow, okay, which is generally called as a chi2 square with 2 degree of freedom. And hence these two acts as discriminating variables. Next slide, please. Okay, so now again the another category which becomes challenging is compressed RPC searches and R parity violating searches. They become challenging due to soft leptons and also low mate they come with. And their signal efficiency get affected by high cut on kinematic variables. So on the right hand side plot, you can see that for the compressed scenario, which corresponds to 500 and 490 mass splitting, there the low PT lepton is there, and that will be most probably will not get selected due to high kinematic requirement. To overcome these limitations, this type of searches use additional handles such as ISR jet tagging. So for example, as shown in this particular sketch, without ISR, the decay products, which will be very much separated and having very low PT, and hence they mostly will fail the selection. But if we ask for the jet to be, if we ask that there should be ISR jet accompanied to that, then these decay products will be forced to have certain boost, and hence this hard recoil ISR jet can help tagging these soft decay products. In following slides, I will be presenting overview of few SUSY searches carried by Atlas and CMS. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's begin with the first search. So I will be covering 4 to 5 searches. So I haven't gone into fine details of each analysis, but here the idea is to just let you know about what is the background estimation strategy based on the final state we are looking at. So this is called as Blueno and Squark one-step model. Why one step? That you can see in the right hand side diagram that Blueno is decaying to neutralino through chargino. The event signature we are exploring is single charge leptons plus 2 jets plus mate. Now the mass splitting can vary between chargino and neutralino as compared to that between Blueno and neutralino, and we are calling it as X. And depending on whether it is compressed or uncompressed scenario, we are defining these 4 different signal regions. 2J, that is 2 jets, which will give sensitivity to compressed spectrum. 4J high X, where we will be expecting boosted on-shell W. In case of 4J low X, we expect off-shell W scenario. And if it is 6J, we expect high PT leptons with many jets. So these are used as 4 orthogonal search bins, and further division is done under empty and effective mass variables to get further sensitivity. So here in this particular diagram, you can see that how signal region is connected with the control region. So here, this particular variable will be offering good discrimination when there are many jets. So major backgrounds, TT bar, single top, and W plus jet, they will be estimated from data while the rare backgrounds like diboson will be estimated from MC by using the normalization method. Next slide. So left-hand side plot showing the agreement between the data and predicted background using this method. And it is also showing two representative mass scenarios, one being compressed and one being uncompressed, shown by these dotted lines. On the right-hand side, we see the interpretation. The first one corresponds to scenario where mass splitting is fixed. That means the relative relative splitting between chargino and neutrino is fixed with respect to that between gluino and neutralino. Whereas the second scenario, we are fixing the neutralino mass to be 60 GeV, whereas the relative mass splitting between chargino and neutrino, that is a variable or it is a free parameter. And this is the interpretation we could get. So here we see that gluino and squark masses, they are excluded to 2.2 TeV, and for squark it is 1.4 TeV. And if it is single accessible squark flavor considered, then exclusion is up to 1.04 TeV at 95% confidence level. Okay, the next search, which we can call as 4-dimensional search, because here we are using 4 orthogonal variables, that is NZs, NBZs, HT, and MET from Zs, which we also call as MHT. So total search bins become 174. The usual variables for the analysis are NZs, HT, MHT. Delta phi requirement is to reject the copious multi-jet background coming from the jet mismeasurement. And also we need isolated lepton and track V2. All the backgrounds here, for example, TT bar W plus jets, invisible Z and QCD, they are estimated by data-driven techniques. Left-hand side plot shows you how the kinematic phase space is divided in HT and MHT bins, and then this particular distribution is applicable for each of the NZ, NBZ bins, and hence giving total 174 orthogonal search bins. Next slide, please. On the left-hand side, we see how data is looking against the predicted background, and we see that within the uncertainties, data is showing consistency with the predicted background. Two representative exclusions are shown, one for T2 TT and another for T1 QQ. Here, this particular region corresponds to where there is a significant contamination from standard model TT bar process. So here gluinos are excluded till 2.3 TeV and squarks up to 1.19 TeV for stop, and for light squark it is up to 1.63 TeV. Okay, so let's move to next search. This is interesting because we are asking for hadronic Z in the final state, and that hadronic Z should be boosted, and that will arise when there is when the mass splitting between chi20 and chi10 is significant. In that situation, we expect that this boosted Z will produce the decay products which will be having the significant momentum and will get combined into a large radius jet. Hence, here we are using this AK8 jet, and we are using jet substructure variable to understand the decay products of Z. So here, one of the advantage is that because we are looking into the narrow Z window, that leads to significant standard model background suppression. Again, selection is similar to what we have seen for the previous searches as well. But here you see that there is an extra requirement on the mass of AK8 jet to be within 100 to 70 GeV. And this should be true for both the high PT AK8 jets. Headspace.
Aditi, just to, I'm sorry to disturb you. You will be able to finish in next 5-7 minutes time?
I I think no. I will try
No?
to be a little fast.
Okay, maybe you can go fast or skip one or two. The
Okay.
present main important results. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So here is a phase space which we are dividing into mass sideband and mid sideband regions. And we are using the linear fit across the mass sideband to get the contribution in the signal region. Next slide, please. So this is showing the comparison of observed data against the prediction. And the right-hand side plot is showing the exclusion for the gliomas. So the exclusion reached is around 1.92 TeV for this particular scenario. Next slide, please. Okay, then the third one being the stop production. And here we are asking for the oppositely charged leptons. Okay. For Drelian rejection, we are putting this particular criteria that the dilepton mass and Z mass, they should be separated by more than 15 GeV. Here key variables become MT2 and MT2 BLBL. We have already talked about the discrimination power offered by these variables, and the same thing we see here. So in case of background processes, they should show the endpoint at W mass and top mass respectively, whereas signal will populate at tails. And here the backgrounds are estimated from the control region, which is orthogonal to signal region, and we do the signal extraction fit over this region. Next slide, please. Okay, so here are the results. So I will just quote the numbers here. For T2TT, exclusion reached is 925 GeV. For T2BW scenario, this one, it is 850 GeV. Whereas for T8 BLL nu, BBLL nu, it is 1.4 TeV. Next slide, please. Okay. This particular search, this is different from the previous searches because here the expected inject requirement is high. That is, inject at least should be 6. So here we expect that there will be ISR jet accompanied, and we are using the same property to estimate the background. Okay. So here you see the definition of signal region, which correspond to high MJ, high MT. These blue regions correspond to control region. And this plot is explaining that the red markers will be falling into this particular signal region, whereas data as well as standard model background is more dominant in low MJ and low MT sideband region. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, that here we are using the property of ISR jet, that if there are many ISR jets, then MJ distribution, which is the sum of masses of large radius jet, that will be uncorrelated with MT. And we benefit here because we can extract the background in high MT region, which is having less in terms of standard model background, from the low MT region, which can offer us better statistical precision. And here the exclusion reached is 2150 GeV for T1 TTTT. For T5 TTTT, it gets relatively decreased because of the overlap with the T2TT model. Next slide, please. Okay, then this one asks for 2 same sign leptons or at least 3 leptons. Now this process is again relatively rare in the standard model processes, unless there is production of 2 or more bosons. Okay. So here, to exploit and to get the sensitivity to various topologies, we are defining or we are dividing the signal region in these HH, HL, LL regions based on whether lepton PT is satisfying this threshold. This will give sensitivity to RPC scenario. Low MET region defined with this particular requirement will give sensitivity to RPV scenario, and multi-lepton with on-shell Z and off-shell Z, it will be giving scenario to this type of models. Next slide, please. Okay. So here again we are seeing that data is well explained by the predicted background, and the exclusion reached is 2.1 TeV for glionos and 0.9 TeV for S-top and S-bottom. Okay, and the next one is about the using MT2 variable along with disappearing tracks. So this analysis has 2 separate parts. one without disappearing track and another one with disappearing track. So I will be just talking about this second part, which uses disappearing track. So here disappearing track arising if there is a long-lived charge genome that has decayed to significantly low PT decay products, which are below the measurement threshold, and hence it will appear as a disappearing track. For signal region, we require these disappearing tracks or short tracks. There the requirement is MT2, and as here we are talking about the hydronic scenario, MT2 is derived using by reclustering all jets into two pseudo jets. And here you see that the extra requirement as compared to what we have been seen in the previous analysis, there should be at least one disappearing track. And how it is defined, that there should not be any hit in the at least outer two tracker levels. Okay. And here we get the advantage from these two extra variables, that is the disappearing track length and disappearing track PT. We estimate the background prediction in signal region based on the control region by using this scale factor, which is derived in the control region, which is with this particular requirement make about 13, and MT2 like this, which is orthogonal to signal region. Next slide, please. Okay. And here again, here is a comparison of data and predicted background. We don't see any something new happening here as compared to the predicted background. Here are the exclusions shown as a comparison of C tau, which is nothing but which will be decided by the decay length of the charge genome. So here we see that we are seeing three observations we can make, that the compressed spectra, this right-hand side plot, is constrained across a wide range of C tau. That is because in compressed scenario, there will be very low visible energy. A stronger exclusion, that is the region which is below this line of 1, correspond to excluded part. We see that it is better for the intermediate C tau, and this is intuitive because this chi1 will be decaying into the tracker, and hence we can get the benefit of the extra variables like disappearing track length, which we have already mentioned before, and hence exclusion gets better here. And here I am showing you that how much better we are after use of this disappearing track. That Gluino exclusion has extended from 2.2 TeV to 2.45 TeV, whereas for stop, it is from 1.2 TeV to 1.66 TeV. Next slide, please. Yeah. So I'm almost at the summary. So Atlas and CMS and have put stringent limits so far on Gluino and Squark production with full run-to data. Results from different analysis with different final state are explored and they are found to be consistent. So let us hope that with an increase in luminosity and improvisation of various techniques, we will be certainly boost the potential of ELITSIM to shed some light on SUSI. So stay tuned for the upcoming results. Okay, so
Thank you, Aditi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to hurry you up a bit, but we were getting a bit delayed. So
yeah, it's okay.
Questions? There is one question. Satyaki.
Yes, hello Aditi. So on this last plot, what's the projection of run 3 and HLLHC at the end of run 3? Where do we expect to reach on this plot?
Yeah, I don't have the exact. Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers. So this is this doesn't representing it, but I think we should be able to. It's just a naive thought. Maybe up to 200 GV or more than that, of that order, but I'm not sure about the exact quantitative we can project.
So the red here is, I'm having difficulty reading. Red
So
here
these are
is
different analysis with different final state. So there,
red.
Yeah.
So the red is the zero lepton case. So I guess the question is, how much we gain by increasing luminosity also depends on the behavior of the cross section with the parameters.
Yes.
So in this lightest neutralino gluino mass plane, how much do we gain by increasing luminosity? Is your statement that we will move up to 200? So 2 point, it's somewhere around 2.222 GV, 2.22 TV, that will move to 2.24 TV, something like that, or the gain will be more substantial?
I don't have idea about the exact numbers here. It will be
Okay.
higher than this one. This I mentioned will be the, like you can say, lowest one which we can expect for example, compressed scenario, etc. But it will be higher than this one.
Okay, thank you.
I think it will be substantial. Satyaki, the region being 7 or 8 TeV to 13 TeV, they move to more than TeV. And the luminosity was, if you look at luminosity factor, it was just a factor of 7.867.
No,
But,
it's 3 times almost.
But wait a minute. But that is the gain in the cross section because of the central mass energy, not the
Right,
luminosity.
that's
Doubling the luminosity is not going to make much difference at the 2 TeV scales.
right. Also, there is a that's what I'm saying. So there was a luminosity as well as a cross section in factor,
both factors will contribute.
So that was and that took it to quite a bit. So now it is just a luminosity.
It will be just doubling the luminosity. So
that's right.
It will be not substantial per se, although we still have to analyze the data and keep updating.
I don't see any other hand. So since there is no other question, let's thank the speaker, Aditi, for the interesting talk. Of course, this is a huge topic and you covered most important analysis researches. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.